At the beginning of Limitless, we are introduced to Eddie, a struggling writer who still clings to one big dream, writing a book that will make him rich and famous. The problem is, he can't write. For weeks, Eddie has been completely stuck. He sits in front of blank pages for hours, but nothing comes out. Every time he tries to think, it feels like his mind hits an invisible wall, and behind it, there's only emptiness. One day, he meets his girlfriend Lindy, but instead of a normal date, she drops a bombshell. She wants to break up. Lindy is tired of paying for everything while Eddie shows no progress in his life. She wants something better. Meanwhile, Eddie genuinely believed their relationship was fine. He even imagined marrying her one day, but Lindy has already made up her mind. For her, it's over. Shattered, Eddie leaves the cafe and wanders into the street. That's when he runs into Vernon, his ex-wife's brother. Vernon takes one look at him and immediately notices how bad he looks, almost like a homeless man. Trying to save face, Eddie claims he has a writing deal and is just too busy to take care of himself. Vernon doesn't buy it. He invites Eddie for a drink. During their conversation, Vernon admits he hasn't spoken to his sister a long time since she moved away. Eddie, in return, confesses the truth. He hasn't written a single line and is falling behind. That's when Vernon makes a strange offer. He gives Eddie a pill, a drug that supposedly unlocks 100% of the human brain's potential, far beyond what people normally use. It sounds insane. Eddie refuses at first, especially when he hears the price, $800, money he doesn't have. But unexpectedly, Vernon gives it to him for free, leaves a business card, and walks away. Eddie stares at the pill. Then he realizes he has nothing left to lose. So he takes it. The effect is immediate. As soon as he enters his building and runs into his landlord's wife demanding rent, Eddie suddenly reads her situation within seconds. He realizes she's struggling with something related to school. From her eyes, he can clearly see confusion and uncertainty. While she keeps yelling at him, Eddie notices a book in her bag and instantly figures out she's studying law. He points out her problem, leaving her stunned. "How do you know I'm in law school?" All the knowledge buried deep in Eddie's subconscious suddenly connects, forming clear and structured thoughts. Not only does he calm her down, but he also helps organize her notes. In just 45 minutes, everything turns into a polished, nearly perfect result. She is impressed. Back in his apartment, Eddie looks around and realizes he's been living in complete chaos. And if he wants clarity in his mind, he needs to fix his surroundings first. Energy is rushing through him. After cleaning everything, he doesn't stop. He sits down immediately and starts writing his book. In that state, words begin to organize themselves into clear and precise sentences. Eddie keeps writing non-stop until late at night, and eventually falls asleep. But the next morning, everything is gone. The ability disappears. What felt limitless just a day ago is now completely reset. Still, something remains. Eddie shows his manuscript to his editor, and by the time he gets home, his answering machine is filled with messages from her. She's blown away by his work. Eddie wants to call her back, but then a disturbing thought hits him. The person who wrote those pages wasn't really him. It was a different version of himself. Realizing he needs the pill again, Eddie goes back to Vernon. But this time, Vernon looks terrible. His face bruised, like he's been beaten. He refuses to say who did it, but admits that NZT hasn't been approved yet, and its production is completely illegal. When Eddie asks for more pills, Vernon agrees to talk, but first asks him to pick up a suit from the dry cleaners and grab some breakfast. Eddie does exactly that, but when he returns, Vernon is dead. Without hesitation, Eddie calls the police. Almost instantly, he pieces it together. The killer was most likely searching for the pills, and may not have found them. Seeing the apartment already trashed, Eddie knows he doesn't have much time. He starts searching everywhere, making an even bigger mess without thinking about the consequences. Finally, inside the oven, he finds what he was looking for. Along with it, a large amount of cash. After hiding the pills, he opens the door for the arriving police. At the station, he claims he had no idea what Vernon was involved in, and that their meeting was purely coincidental. With no solid evidence, the police let him go, only asking for his contact information. The moment he gets home, Eddie takes another pill, and instantly, everything comes back. His mind sharpens. The world becomes clear, structured, almost perfect. With Vernon's money and a surge of motivation, Eddie finishes his book in just 4 days, 1 pill per day, and his potential seems limitless. He transforms rapidly. From an insecure man, he becomes confident, capable of handling anything. Poker, piano, medicine, the stock market, Nothing is out of reach anymore. In any room he enters, he becomes the center of attention. Fear and hesitation disappear completely. And he can't stop. The feeling of power is overwhelming. Soon, a bigger idea starts forming in his mind. Something that could take him to an entirely new level. He begins studying the stock market. With Vernon's last $800, in just a few days, he turns it into $7,000. But for Eddie, that's still too slow. Banks refuse to give loans to someone without a reliable past. So he turns to a Russian crime boss named Gennady. Gennady agrees to lend him $100,000 at a very high interest rate. With the help of Kevin, a new acquaintance, Eddie lands a job and begins trading seriously in the stock market. Under the effect of the pill, Eddie turns into a near-perfect machine for analyzing the market. By the end of the week, his trading account surpasses $2 million. Word spreads quickly about this incredibly successful trader. Soon, Kevin informs him that a powerful financier, Carl Van Loon, wants to meet him. This dramatic transformation also affects his personal life. Lindy agrees to have dinner with him, and this new Eddie completely impresses her. From speaking flawless Italian to accurately reading her emotions. Before long, they get back together. But behind all this success, something starts to feel off. Eddie notices that an unknown man seems to be following him. At the same time, he experiences strange moments of disorientation, as if reality itself is becoming unstable. Eventually, the day of the meeting with Carl arrives. He speaks very little, choosing instead to listen as Eddie explains how he managed to multiply his fortune in just 10 days. Eddie's approach is both simple and brilliant, catching the attention of Carl's assistant. However, there's also something unsettling about him, a level of confidence that borders on dangerous arrogance. Later, in the car, Carl shows Eddie a list of companies. Within minutes, Eddie figures it out. The financier is preparing a major merger involving Hank Atwood's business. Carl is clearly impressed by how fast Eddie understands the situation, and when Eddie points out the risks that could cause the deal to fail, Carl immediately schedules another meeting. Inspired by this recognition, Eddie decides to take a walk, but suddenly, he realizes he has somehow walked 20 blocks and ended up at a subway station without even noticing. There, he unexpectedly gets into a fight with 4 men, and somehow, he wins, despite having no prior fighting experience. The pill seems to pull knowledge from deep within his memory, including martial arts techniques he has only seen in movies, and that alone is enough for him to handle his opponents with ease. And when the pill wears off, Eddie realizes he can't remember the last 18 hours of his life. The fight from the night before leaves its mark. With an injured leg, he barely manages to get back home. The next morning, Eddie begins to understand that the drug is negatively affecting him. He decides to stop taking it and tries to work on Carl's documents. But, as his normal self, the papers look like incomprehensible symbols. Without the pill, he feels terrible. He calls Kevin and asks to reschedule the meeting, but Kevin refuses, convinced that someone like Carl won't offer a second chance. So at the appointed time, Eddie still shows up, but this time, without the pill. He feels weak, restricted, and completely vulnerable. From Carl, Eddie learns that just 2 years ago, no one even knew Hank Atwood, and now he's running one of the biggest energy companies. But Eddie's mind is somewhere else entirely. The news suddenly reports that Maria Winter's body has been found, and Eddie is horrified to realize she's the same girl he was with in the hotel the night before. Witnesses mention seeing an unknown man near her, and that detail makes Eddie feel sick. Panicking, he abruptly leaves the meeting and rushes home. A call from Melissa finally connects the dots, as she warns him about how dangerous the pills really are. Eddie immediately asks to meet her. Sitting in a park, Eddie starts calling Vernon's clients, but he quickly realizes most of them are either dead or hospitalized. When he calls the next number, he hears a phone ringing nearby, and he recognizes the man who's been following him. The man realizes it too, and immediately chases him. But Eddie barely manages to escape. After losing him, Eddie meets Melissa, and he barely recognizes her. She used to turn heads everywhere she went. She instantly realizes Eddie has been using the pills for a while, and admits she used to be one of Vernon's clients. At first, the drug made her life feel perfect, like she could do anything. But later she discovered people die from it. No brain can handle that level of strain for long. So she decided to quit. Now she suffers constant headaches and nausea, unable to focus. She tells Eddie to slowly reduce the dosage, then stop completely. But caught up in his own problems, Eddie forgets about Gennady, so Gennady decides to remind him himself. When he sees a pill in Eddie's hand, he takes it without hesitation, then forces Eddie to go to the bank with him. Eddie can't remember if he still has pills at home, but he knows he hid some at Lindy's place. He goes to her workplace and tells her everything. Now she finally understands where his energy came from. He asks her to bring him a pill so he can function again. Then Lindy calls him in panic. Someone is following her. As she gets out of the car, she tries to hide and asks people around her for help, but it doesn't stop the man. Without hesitation, he kills 2 people, but that distraction gives Lindy time to escape. Once safe for the moment, she tells Eddie he's still after her. Realizing she has no other choice, Lindy takes the pill. Almost instantly, her mind becomes sharp. Her brain starts analyzing everything around her, processing details and choosing the best possible way to survive. Without hesitation, she rushes toward the ice rink, already knowing exactly what she needs to do next. She injures the pursuer and manages to escape. Eventually, Lindy finds Eddie and gives him the pill that saves him. They rent a hotel room. The next morning, Lindy admits she finally understands how much the pill changes a person. Eddie promises her he will stop using the drug as soon as he can secure a carefree life for both of them. But a new problem emerges. The pill's effect leaves a strong impression on Gennady. Eddie gives him a few pills to buy himself time. Realizing the danger, he hires bodyguards and tells them to keep their distance to avoid attention. Eddie finally meets Carl, who admits that after reviewing Eddie's report, he fired several employees because none of them could do what Eddie did alone. Just 2 months after taking the pills, Eddie becomes a key figure in the largest corporate merger in history. Knowing the pills won't last forever, Eddie offers a chemist $2 million to recreate the drug, and the chemist agrees. To always carry pills, he asks his tailor to sew hidden pockets into all his suits. But things soon get complicated. Eddie learns a witness has identified him in the Maria Winter case as the man seen near her that night. He hires the best lawyer in New York and learns all evidence at the scene was erased. Despite the risk of arrest, he continues negotiations with Hank Atwood and demands payment after completing the deal. To Carl, Eddie is no longer just an employee. He's now a strategic asset that can't be let go, because he can predict the market years ahead and find weaknesses in major corporations, and could easily switch sides if he wanted. So his request for $40 million for freedom sounds not like a deal, but a loss of control. To keep him close, Carl gives him unlimited credit, covering all his expenses. Realizing he's in too deep, Eddie buys an apartment in a high-security building, believing it will act as a secure bunker. Meanwhile, Gennady returns, demanding more pills and blackmailing him, threatening to expose him to the press. On the meeting day, Hank's wife shows up instead, saying he suddenly fell ill and is now hospitalized. While escorting her, Eddie recognizes the driver as the same man who had been following him. At that moment, Eddie realizes that Atwood was also using the pills. During the lineup, Morris Brandt brings in men who closely resemble Eddie. The witness behind the glass becomes confused and fails to identify anyone with certainty. For Eddie, it all works out. After taking his jacket, he goes to see Carl, where he learns that Atwood has fallen into a coma. This reminds Eddie that he missed his dose. He rushes to the restroom and realizes his stash is gone. Back at Carl's office, he receives a package. It's addressed to him. Inside is a message from Gennady, along with the severed hands of his bodyguards. Ignoring Carl, Eddie leaves immediately. Back home, he sees Morris Brandt on the news, standing beside Atwood's wife, and realizes he was the one who stole from him. A knock at the door interrupts his thoughts. Gennady's voice demands he open the door. Realizing he has no pills left and can't bargain, Eddie considers ending everything, standing on the edge, ready to jump. He suddenly remembers a last hidden pill. He starts searching frantically while the door is being forced open. He finds the pill, but trips before taking it and ends up captured by Gennady. Eddie notices Gennady uses a different method, injecting it for faster and longer effects. Learning Eddie has nothing left, Gennady orders a full search, not noticing Eddie hiding a knife. While his men open the safe, Gennady says he'll get the truth anyway, even if he has to torture Eddie to death. But his overconfidence betrays him. When he gets too close, Eddie attacks, fatally wounding him. The effort drains Eddie completely. Then he realizes the drug is in Gennady's blood. He drinks the blood to absorb it. The drug kicks in instantly, bringing back the familiar clarity. His mind sharpens again, and a clear plan forms. He predicts every move ahead and eliminates them, escaping death again. That same night, Hank Atwood dies. Eddie tells his guard the cure was with Morris Brandt, but he kept it for himself. The guard doesn't like hearing that and decides to punish Morris. While Eddie finally regains access to the drug, 1 year later, Eddie is now running for Senate and is told a major sponsor wants to meet. Carl quickly realizes how ambitious Eddie has become and makes it clear that he knows about the drug. He tracked down the lab producing it, bought it, and shut it down, making himself the only one who can restart production. In exchange, Carl asks for one thing. When Eddie becomes president, he must serve a specific group's interests. But Eddie is not satisfied with this deal. He calmly says he already predicted this situation and has multiple labs already running. Over the past year, he has gathered information on Carl and prepared countermeasures if needed. No matter what Carl tries, Eddie is always several steps ahead. To prove it, he makes a quick calculation and predicts a coming medical issue. By noticing Carl's heartbeat, he realizes his heart is only functioning at half capacity and that he will soon need surgery. Carl fails to convince him. After walking away from Carl, Eddie goes to lunch. He casually orders in Chinese, and this no longer surprises Lindy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts about Limitless in the comments. Thanks for watching.